Professor, I'd like to ask you just a few questions about politics and where you stand right now. So, as of now, who are you voting for?
Well, I'm not very pleased with his candidacy per se, but I am supporting Mitt Romney on November 6th.
And that's because you're a Republican.
Well, I mean, right now I'm a registered independent, but I've leaned Republican for many years. I've tended to vote towards Republican tickets in the past. And, right now, just seeing the direction of the country with unemployment being so high and seeing this sustaining debt that's been growing for the last 4 years, I think it's difficult to find any real reasons to vote for Barack Obama to re-elect him. I mean, I understand that many in academia, many in the media are willing accomplices in trying to cover up for him and sort of paint a rosier picture than there is. And the facts are that right now the economic climate for a lot of people, for young professionals, even students like yourself, once you graduate, the job market's really bad right now, and it doesn't seem to be picking up anytime soon.
Now, you're Latino, right? So how do you get a lot of criticism for being Latino and leaning towards the Republican side?
Well, first off, just to give you a little clarity, I understand the word Hispanic and Latino gets thrown around a lot. I prefer to use the word Hispanic just for classification purposes, but being a Hispanic male and also an academic has brought me some grief. As we all know that liberalism has encompassed and engulfed academia for some time. And also I think the Democrat Party as well has also tried to have a monopoly on the Hispanic population. And unfortunately what we've been seeing now in the last recent elections is that while Hispanics predominantly still vote for the Democrat Party, that number has been reduced significantly. Again, Hispanics around the country have seen that President Obama has not delivered on immigration reform as he promised back in 2008, in addition to other things he promised on that he's not delivered on. And many Hispanics are not happy, and it shows in the polls.
And as of now, I know politics can get confusing for students. So on campus, do you think it's complicated for students to really understand politics if they're not involved in them?
Well, the first thing is that, unfortunately, what's become so pervasive across college campuses in this country is that indoctrination has become sort of the mindset for many educators. And again, what I'd like to remind my peers about is that we're here to educate and not indoctrinate. And in many instances, students are not getting the full amount of facts. They're getting a very skewed and quite honestly a very left-wing perspective on politics. And listen, let's be honest, politics tends to turn a lot of people off at any age level, whether you're a senior citizen, whether you're middle-aged, or even a student. And unfortunately, in college campuses, what we've seen right now with so many academics is this very hard left slant, and again, like this blatant indoctrination where they're not encompassing all the facts. And again, it's really doing a disservice to students. And while I've been teaching here part-time, I've always, I pride myself on the fact that I don't indoctrinate students. I give them the full perspective. I don't lean one way. I tend to be as very moderate and down the middle as I possibly can. I mean, you're not going to please everybody. Some students are going to have their opinions, and that's fine. But for the most part, compared to my peers in this business, and I'm not talking about just this campus, I'm talking about just in general, most professors and academics are very liberal and left-wing. I mean, it's not a secret, and many of them don't hide it either.
And now just for, what are your specific views on election? What do you feel the most strong is about? Is there something about abortion, women's rights, public funding, immigration?
Well, listen, first and foremost, it's about the economy. I mean, someone like yourself is going to be graduating soon, as well as thousands of other college students, and even other young Americans are facing a really bad economic climate. I mean, understand something. We're looking at 40-plus months of unemployment at over 8%. I mean, it hasn't been this high since World War II. Okay? And we can talk about the blame mantra that so many on the left and so many supporters of President Obama want to sort of initiate. But the facts are that there comes a point that, you run for the job, and once you get the job, it's time to do the job. I don't recall back at the end of 2000 when President George W. Bush again was being inaugurated. I mean, he also inherited a recession. Ronald Reagan inherited a recession from Jimmy Carter. I mean, these are things that most in academia and in the media don't like to talk about. But the facts are that they inherited a recession. Now, again, not as bad of a recession as what Barack Obama did. But the facts are it's a recession. And it comes to a point where you put your pants on one leg at a time, and you go and do the work. And I don't recall at any point in time that Ronald Reagan or George W. Bush spent the entire duration of their term blaming their predecessor. And that's what Obama seems to have been doing. And you know what? It hasn't worked. We're seeing this high unemployment rate. We saw 2 stimulus packages, not 1, but 2 stimulus packages that he signed into law with the authority of a Congress, which, again, both chambers of the Congress are controlled by his party. And these 2 stimulus packages created more debt than jobs. This isn't biased. This isn't some sort of talking point. These are facts. And, you know, everyone's all about fact-checking and making sure that information is verifiable. Well, you can look that up. It created more debt than jobs. It didn't create long-sustaining jobs, which in this economy you need. And unfortunately, right now the economy is such an important issue for so many people because of that. I have students, even who graduated recently, even as far as last year, calling me, asking for recommendation letters because they can't find work. They have to go back to school. And what's that doing? It's inundating themselves with even more debt. And when you mention another issue, I think another issue that's important right now in this economy is the student debt crisis. You know, the amount of money that students are borrowing to go back to school because they can't find work is astronomical. And I think it's disappointing that both parties have not explored some sort of program to initiate, you know, student loan forgiveness. You know, if we want to talk about stimulus packages, something that stimulates the economy, well, if young Americans between the ages of 25 and 35 have more disposable income, they can put that back into the economy instead of having to pay back those loans. And, you know, again, that's something that both parties have not explored, and I think they're doing a disservice to that demographic.
Well, I would just like to thank you for taking your time out for us to interview you. And yes, I'm Amy, reporting for Breaking It Down, Students in Politics.